Okay, gentlemen, welcome to the finals match for the April War of Dots one-on-one tournament. Just because it's the finals match, we are not going to speed up the replay. We will watch it in its entirety. Um, yeah, I could better be ready to yap. Anyways, so as I mentioned in the previous semi-final matches, because there were technical difficulties with the game itself regarding the major update that was released during the tournament, we were not able to get all the replays. There was a lot of technical difficulties with the replay system and the matchmaking system. It all went to shit. So we only have this one game from this final series. Uh, yeah, it yeah, I'm trying to hide the outcome, but it doesn't doesn't really matter. Well, I'll just go on with the charade. Why not? So it's Girth against Eika. Um, what can I say? I've only seen Eika play 3 times from the semifinal match. If I were to judge in terms of what I've seen so far, just off that small sample size, I'd still favor Girth in terms of micro. In terms of the small little tiny battles, I haven't quite seen anybody else so far really match Girth. I know there are people who are out there who exist because Girth isn't invincible. As we saw in the previous semifinal match against Mr. G, he does bleed. But all jokes aside, Girth does every now and then lose a game or two. So there are players out there that have been known to do it, that can do it. I have just never seen it myself, but judging on, like I said, the small sample size between Iker and John, I still favor Girth in the series just because of his micro capabilities. If I was in Iker's shoes, like I said in the previous semifinal match, it really does have to come down to tournament prep. You really do need to have done your homework if you really want to win the tournament and beat Girth. That's the kind of stuff that has to be done. The player who is willing to put in the work will succeed. Girth is not God, okay? He does bleed, he does lose, he's not invincible. Um, yeah, it would just come down to that. Whoever's willing to put in the hard work will be able to beat him. But is there anybody out there, right, who is crazy enough to spend that amount of time in War of Dots to actually do that? That remains to be seen, ladies and gentlemen. Remains to be seen. So, right off the bat, we don't have any really drastic maneuvers or strategies being played. Both players went in to boost their ecos. We've got skirmishes in the center here next to the mountain. Slight skirmishes in the northern pass as well. Armor units in the center pass, chilling out, having a staring match. And here, folks, we see the master at work. Girth has rotated troops from the southern side here, created reserves in the center, and he's using that to generate an offensive. Cycling the morale, cycling the health, cycling the units all over the goddamn place. Yes, he's going for it. And even despite that, damn Girth. Just look at that, right? Casualties, troops. I know it's not that strategically significant, but it's still something. He's up by about 18,000 in terms of casualties. In terms of troops, 20,000 on the field extra. That's what he can do, folks. It just comes down to these super minor details. Gets these advantages, and if you let him play his game, he will accumulate it all and he will win. Right now, on Ika's perspective here, this right here you need to do something. You can't just keep all these extra units just staring at each other, doing nothing. Girth is still drawing force. Oh, good lord. Yeah. Yep. If you did tournament prep, you would be able to know what to expect. Um, I of course don't actually know if Iker has or any of the players that have casted from this tournament actually have done what I've been saying and just weren't able to figure it out. Could be a distinct possibility, but like I said, I'm just going off what I've seen so far in the community. I don't think the player base is that serious enough. Yes. It is what it is. The only reason why I had such experience with tournaments is that yeah, I took my gaming seriously when I was much younger. Yep. Did I have much of a social life? Well, I played most of the board games. They were all in person, so yes, I did. But I hated my time in school, so I didn't really care. I was always pretty much the loner for the most part. I just gotta. It is what it is. And I think no, I have zero regrets whatsoever with how my life turned out in school. Was it a little bit painful? Yeah, but I think I came out on top of it in the long run. Made me the person who I am now today. No regrets whatsoever. But yeah, I took my gaming seriously, and I played a lot of tournaments. I played chess. I played Warhammer 40K. Played X-wing, the miniatures game. Um, Company of Heroes 2, that was the only online video game where I kind of was actually pretty competent. I got into the top 100 or so rankings for a couple of the factions. Thing about the ranking in Company of Heroes 2 is that it's all faction based as well. There's no like one master leaderboard with all like elo ratings or whatnot. It's faction by faction. It's also game mode by game mode. In which case, in Company of Heroes 2, it's the not the game modes themselves, but how do I explain? 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3. That game mode, quote unquote. I'm not using the right term, but yeah, I did quite well for that one. I almost partook in the tournament for Company of Heroes 2, but I never quite got around to it. I lost my love for the game before I got to that. But I did play around some of the better amateur players for Company of Heroes 2. And I paid attention to the tournament scene for Company of Heroes 2 as well. So yeah, these are all the things that I do. It's the crazy thing that Merlin's into. Or at least the Merlin was used to be into. Don't do any of these things anymore. Now I just watch other people play. I've got no my time and energy to actually like play video games have gone down since I started working. It is what it is. It's life, I suppose. It was never going to last forever. Yeah. Yeah, going back to tournament. Yeah, tournament prep, all those kinds of things. I also studied the chess games. I wasn't that good in chess. I stopped playing chess because of what happened during the tournaments. Because when you play chess, well, the way that it worked out for me, and from what I learned from some of the other, people that were in my school, you play chess at a local level, right? You play against your friends, then you figure out, okay, I'm pretty good. Let me go to the next level, and then you play on the school level. You play against everyone else in school. At least that's what I did. You join the school chess club, and then yeah, you play against all different people in school. And then if you figure out that okay, I beat all these guys, let me go to the next level. When you're a young guy, if you're like 10 years old, like I was at that point, um you don't have enough wisdom or experience to realize that yes, I may be good enough for this level, but it doesn't mean that the success I've made so far is going to carry on to the next level, which is what happened when you join a national open tournament in chess. You get your ass beat really badly. And I did not have enough guidance at that point in my life from anybody. My parents didn't play games. My parents were not the competitive types. They're both academics, both doctors, hold PhDs, both lecturers. Yeah, so they couldn't quite help me out or guide me. I could have gone back in time and actually guided younger me. I would have made sure that I didn't go into an open national tournament straight away as the first real tournament experience. Not good, man. Not good. Doesn't do well to the ego of a 10-year-old. And then slowly from there, it snowballs and you lose your confidence. And once you lose your confidence, you start losing your love for the game. You start making stupid mistakes, and it just adds up. It just adds up. Yeah, it was only much later on in life when I started getting back into board games in general. I avoided chess like the plague, and then online video games. Yeah, just developed a different love for different games, and then carried on from there. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff you got to deal with if you really want to go competitive into tournament level gameplay, national level as well. For the X-Wing miniatures game that I was involved with, I actually did play with players that were on the international level. They played at the biggest tournament at the time, which was this was like 9 years ago. Uh, it was the World Championships. That was the big international tournament. And X-Wing at one point, for those who don't know, it was bigger than Warhammer 40K. Yeah, it was an amazing game. Yeah, and I did end up playing against players of the international caliber. Funnily enough, in the first national tournament that I played in, the guy who finally beat me uh, before I could make it to the semifinals ended up being the world champion that year. He went on to Worlds a few months after that national tournament here in Malaysia, and then he won the world championship. So, yeah, yeah, that was my taste of top level gameplay, top level gameplay. But anyway, yeah, situation on the front line. As I said before, and what I predicted has come true. The minor details of Girth for his micro capabilities and the fact that he is capable of generating these small tactical victories into a strategic advantage. We're seeing it play out in real time right here, folks. Collapse in the south, and encirclement. I could try to pull out, but it was just a little bit too late. He's now got two pockets of encirclements here. Complete collapse in the southern front. Good lord. This is why he's number one. Right, so what can you do? Eika, the game ain't over just yet. I know the game is already over and I already know the result, but I can pretend just a little bit here. In terms of troop deficit, you are only down by about 20,000 troops. So that means you're completely fine. No cities have been lost. Space has been lost, yes, but that's fine. Space is a strategic asset. If you give it up willingly, it's always a valid thing. In this case, you didn't give it up willingly, but it's not that big of a deal. All right, you can still come out of this on top. How are you gonna do that? You're on your own for that one, buddy. Um, the only move I have literally is to collapse the defense closer to your cities, draw him in, get the passive power projection advantage, and then make a play out of that. It's the only trick I know that we have seen proves to have worked. But as I mentioned in the semifinal match with Mr. G, Girth versus Mr. G, you need to do that for very early on. You can't afford to play into Girth's game here, where you're just trading micro battles across the front line for like 10, 15 minutes straight out the bat. If you want to do that strategy, it's better to do it early on and not do it later. Strategic decisions to be considered, especially if you're trying to try that one play. And of course, since Girth has already played all these games and will most likely be watching the commentary, he will probably be working on his gameplay to counter that. So the one time that if someone had properly uh, prepped for the tournament, uh, probably was the one time you might have been able to pull that off to win a couple of matches against Girth. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Somebody out there has probably got, proper real strategies instead of trick plays that I have to beat Girth. Like I mentioned earlier, there are players out there who can beat Girth, and Girth does lose every now and then, a couple matches here and there. So if I can get my hands on those replays, that will be, yeah, weight worth in gold if you could measure the weight of bits. Yep. So not good. It's not looking good. Collapsing the defense and trying to get passive power rejection is not going to work out here because this right here is basically the perfect counterplay. You just stack up as many dots as you can in a very tight pack formation front line and just push together. That way, there's no opportunity to go for encirclements and try to utilize the advantage of your passive power projection advantage of your home territories, your cities. The mountain here is yeah, the terrain basically covers Gus' flank, so he doesn't have to quite worry about it. And because he's capable of getting the force concentration against his opponents, it's all working to his advantage, basically. Yep. Yep. That's Girth, folks. We're just having cycling on the front line here by Eika, replenishing the troops. He's given up the pass in the north. We now have armor engagement from the dudes that were staring at each other in this pass here. Okay, we're getting commitment of forces. Might be able to pin this guy and eliminate him. Yes. Let me check something. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, he repelled that. I believe both players went for full lights for their build orders. Um, Girth, I'm pretty sure, always goes lights. That's his favorite strategy. I think he's mentioned it once or twice in the Discord server as well. Eika here, I believe he did build one or two tanks in his series against John. That was like one of the very early games. But yeah, he didn't go for that here. I don't blame him. It's completely forested tiles, and you've also got hills and mountains. Not quite uh favorable terrain for armor. There's just constant pressure, man. He's deployed this compact front line, and he's managed to keep the offensive running for this long. Just the cycling. He's got no reserves left, but it doesn't really matter. He's bled Iker dry here. That even though he doesn't have the morale to, cycle in reserves, it doesn't matter. He's won the battle for the health bars already. So who cares about morale at that point? The health gone. Morale don't matter if you did. Hmm. Slow death. Death by a million paper cuts, quite literally. Gotta be careful with this pass here, not to get pinned down on these mountains and then start losing units that way. Yeah, Girth has enough economy of force here to defend any kind of offensive that Iker might try to generate up there. Now we are going into desperate measures here, pulling off the units from the garrisons, getting troops to apply combat power to the front. Okay, now he's relieving it with the dot that was almost dead. Yes, casualty deficit 50,000 in favor of a Girth. In terms of troops on the board, Girth has 60,000 more troops. He's almost have a 2-to-1 ratio. God damn. Yep, there's not much you can do, Ika. I'm sorry. I I know it's my job to try to be the positive voice for the underdog, but like I said, if you wanted to make the plays, it needed to have been done before the game started and as the game was starting. It's too late to do anything now. You've played into his game here. This is where he's comfortable, and he's more than capable of reading the situation as it is. He knows when he's winning. Right. Yeah, there's not much you can get out of this. We are almost at the 2-to-1 ratio right now. Almost there. Armor unit gets picked off in the past there. This armor unit doesn't have enough space to maneuver. You might go down. Slight gap in the center here. Not quite enough for a breakthrough just yet. You're a battle of attrition. Super slow death here. It's kind of painful to watch. But that's War of Dots, baby. Well, props up to Eika. He's literally not giving up. He is scraping the bottom of the barrel to get as whatever troops is left on the board here, and he's keeping up the cycling. He's not giving up. Admirable, admirable, but futile. City's about to go. Girth is almost there. Like the gates of the city, the keys are literally right there. There we go. Supply line's getting cut off slightly, but it's just too little, too late. Not much you can do about that. Nothing here can exploit the advantage of the power projection anymore. And there goes the city defender. Still got 1 dot close enough to keep the units out. He's trying to relieve the city now with his fresh dot. Yes, he managed to. Okay. Breakthrough in the center there, wrapping his units around, getting the mismatch here. 4-on-1 on that 1 dot there. Collapse of the defense in the south again. Full retreat. And all Girth needs to do is set up a screen along this flank here and continue the pressure that he's applying to the main city here. And once he gets the city, it's Jover. Yeah. If it isn't apparent by now who actually won the tournament, it is Girth. And just to spoil things now, there were only 2 matches played in this series. Eika never got a win against Girth. Um, and I don't think the other match really went any differently from what we've seen here. That's what I'm predicting. I'm pretty sure one of these players will comment once this video gets uploaded to YouTube and fill me in on the details. But that's, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the April 2026 1v1 War of Dots tournament, Girth McSlammer. Congratulations, Girth. If you enjoyed this replay, please comment. And if you have a replay that you would like to be casted on the channel, just find me on the War of Dots official Discord server. Give me a very short description as to what happened in the game and why you thought, why you think the replay is interesting to send to me, and I'll see if I get around to casting it. No guarantees. No guarantees that I actually get to watch every replay and record a game out of it. But yeah, thank you for watching, folks.